Let me add one thing to what Congressman Smith has said. I was the author of the first conscience clause law in the country when I was a member of the Wisconsin Assembly in 1973. Immediately after Roe versus Wade, there was talk in Wisconsin that the licenses of pro-life doctors and other healthcare professionals would be placed in jeopardy if they refused to participate in abortions. And I introduced legislation which passed both houses, and to my knowledge, it is the only time since 1931 where the governor let the bill become law without his signature. And that happened a few months after the decision of Roe versus Wade. I feel very strongly that the religious and moral consciences of people in all professions, but particularly in the healing arts, have to be respected. And there should not be either economic coercion or their licenses being placed at risk simply because they have religious or moral objections to abortion, or for that matter, any other procedure. So this is something that I think that when the American public looks at what's happening, even people who say they're pro-choice ought to say that pro-life healthcare professionals should have the right to choose not to participate in abortions. Yes, Diana?
I'm not real familiar with this issue, so forgive me if this is a dumb question, but is there a difference between the funding between specific people who choose not to perform abortions rather than clinics who just don't do it at all?
Well,
is there a difference in how that gets funded?
What Congressman Smith has said is that if you're in medical school or you're trying to become a fellow and especially in the medical profession, if you're forced to do something in order to either get a diploma, get a licensure, get a certification that you're one of the best in your field in your country, and if you can't do that, then you cannot end up getting this type of professional achievement, which is something that is designed to instill confidence in your patients. So even if there is no legal discrimination against pro-life healthcare professionals, without the type of protection that is in the Bush administration rule that President Obama's administration has sought to kill, there is this type of coercion so that you don't have pro-life healthcare professionals practicing. And that's why the protection against discrimination in employment is so very vital in order to allow doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals who are pro-life to continue to be able to practice. And those people who wish to choose a physician or healthcare professional will have those types of folks out there that they can go see.
So just to be clear, there's two different issues. One is the protection and the other is the federal funding. And the federal funding does go to clinics even though...
No, the Hyde Amendment has prohibited federal funding to be used to finance abortions that are not necessary to save the pregnant woman's life and under certain circumstances rape and incest. And the Hyde Amendment has been the law since 1977, which antedates all of our tenure in Congress, but it has been repeatedly renewed by the Congress up to the present time.
Should I just add, in keeping with our primary focus here is healthcare personnel. They should not be coerced. They should not feel in jeopardy. Their venue, their workplace should not be a place where there is pressure put upon them to be complicit in the killing of unborn children and the hurting of their mothers by way of abortion. Having said that, there have been attempts made that led to enactment of the Hyde-Weldon legislation, its law, because we found that the pro-abortion lobby, with many attorneys general in tow, were saying that mergers and acquisitions that were absolutely indispensable to the economic viability of certain hospitals and medical clinics, by joining together they became economically viable. Well, there was a serious attempt underway across the country to prevent those from happening unless, say, the Catholic that was joining with a public hospital also provided abortions or provided money to Planned Parenthood and other organizations, kind of like hush money. That ended with the Hyde-Weldon. Now we want to see that fully implemented so that there's no risk that if a merger and acquisition occurs, that does not become a venue for abortions. So conscience is for institutions, because they are just merely a collection of people, but it's at its core, it's the individual nurse, LPN, anesthesiologist, and of course the obstetrician and gynecologist who will feel pressure, if not outright discrimination, because he or she refused to be involved with abortion. And Jim Sensenbrenner is far too modest. He was the pioneer on conscience law protection. And that led to conscience laws being enacted all over the country and, of course, on the federal level. But if they're not implemented with regulations that make it clear to the individual, this is how I assert my right, those rights go uneffectuated.
Are there any other questions? Not, thank you very much for coming.